Hey everyone, so a quick tip because this question comes up all the time. How do I offset copies? So what I have here is an animated cube, nothing special. It just goes big and small via a sine curve. And then I copy this to a couple of points and they all move the same way. What if I wanted all of them to move slightly differently? Now, since this is something that happens on a per object basis, I would do this with a for loop. So we need a time shift node to be able to shift, well, the time by a certain amount. So let's actually build this with a little offset parameter. And I just made it a habit never to use integers. So let's create that little parameter. Let's call it offset. And there it is. And now you can see I can offset the time. And this is something we want to control now on a per object basis. First of all, let's make sure that each point actually has an offset. So let's use an attribute randomize. You can use vex or whatever you want to do this as well. So let's randomize the attribute offset, which is just a float. And let's say between -5 and 5 frames. And I want to make sure that each point uses a different time shift based on this attribute. And in this case, I would put this into a for each point because I'm copying 2 points. So let's now put the copy to points in here. And be careful, we want to still copy the object. And I want to copy only for each point that drips out here of the for each begin. So to see what happens, let's quickly activate the single pass debugging mode. And as you can see up here, only a single point drops out of this and will be copying the geometry. And now I want to make sure that this time shift reads in the offset attribute for each point that drips out. So the offset parameter that we just created gets an expression called point to read out a point attribute. And if you quickly read up how this works, you need the node it should read from, which is the beginning of our for loop, so the for each begin 1. Then the point number is very easy because every single time only 1 point drops out, so it's always 0. And then we just have to tell the function what attribute we want to read out, which is called offset. And the last element is just an index in case you want to read out a vector, which we don't want. We want to read out a float, so it's 0. And with this now, this time shift here will be calculated 62 times once we deactivate the single pass, but each time with a different offset in our attribute. So if I press start now, you can see it's much slower, of course, because now it has to run 62 times instead of once for everything. And before you ask, no, because of the time shift node, we cannot use a compiled block for this. So for now, this is the speed we have to accept. Let's actually make this a bit stronger by -15 plus 15. And let's quickly create a flipbook for this. And this is how it looks like now when you look at it in real time. So if this was helpful and you want to learn Houdini properly, not just the how, but the why, then have a look at Houdini-course.com. Cheers.